podcast, Woman Fully Alive. I'm your host, Madeleine Eames. And if you've been enjoying this podcast or some of my videos, don't forget to like them, to hit subscribe so you don't miss a thing, because I got some good stuff coming up to help you feel more alive, more free, and more on purpose, on track in your life and in your body. So today I'm coming to you from a renovated farmhouse in the south of France. And I've been on a solo trek, on a solo journey for about 3 weeks now. And it's soon coming to a close. But I wanted to just jump on here, make a podcast, because what I am experiencing right now is exactly what I have been teaching. So it's been really interesting to see it just come alive within me and where that has taken me on my travels. So in today's podcast, I'm going to talk about this art of tracking. The art of tracking your wild self. So sometimes we don't know exactly how we got to where we are, but we have an idea of where we'd like to go or how we would like to feel in our lives. And so we have this idea ahead of us, kind of a vague, a faint trail. We know the journey that we would like to go on, and sometimes we don't. We don't even know. We don't know that at all. And often when I ask women, what do you truly desire? What do you really want? It's not always a straightforward answer. And in fact, many women just have become so disconnected from their heart's desires, from their body and what they like, what they don't like, that it's not an easy question to answer right off. But the answer does start to evolve as you start to learn to track. So when I set out to go to France, I had an idea this is where I wanted to go. I wanted to follow some of the path of Mary Magdalene, some of the sacred sites, some of the churches and the cathedrals. So I had a vague plan. And the time just opened up in my life for me to be able to do it. But it was like a nudging. It was like a calling that didn't just come and go. It kept coming up. It kept coming up in my life in so many different ways, from conversations I was having with people to things that were popping up for me on Facebook. And yes, there is the algorithm, but even outside of that, this calling started to grow and grow. And so the time opened up, as I said, and everything fell into place for me to be able to be here for a month, largely on my own. My husband is joining me this week. And so I'm also excited to share my experience with him and also with you. So when I set out, I had a plan, vague. I had some house sits, some pet sits came up. So right now I'm dog sitting, which is a wonderful time for me to also pause, make some videos, do some work, and really reflect on my travels, do some writing. So one of the places that I ended up going to just before here, I had set out to go to one of the sacred sites of the Cathars, called Montségur, and I couldn't find a place to stay. Well, it turns out that there is a retreat center called Les Comtes at the foot of Montségur, and I tried to get in there before, and it was fully booked. Well, a couple of days before I was due to arrive there was a large group booking of a tour group that canceled out. A spot opened up. I took it. And from there, magic really started to happen and confirm itself to me. So it's run by a woman called Alethea Pistis Sophia, who is a guide, a mystic, and just a wonderful woman. And we started out each morning with a yoga class, with a somatic movement class. And what I noticed when I was there, when I was in the movement room, I turned around and there up on the wall were 4 images of lion and lioness, and 4 images of lions, including a cub, that were the exact images, or very close to, that I had been exploring and using in my Lioness Rising courses, in my Lioness training. And these were the images of the white lion of the Timbavati Reserve in South Africa. Something that just has ignited my soul since last summer. So when I saw these images and I began to have a conversation with Alethea about it, it confirmed everything that I had been feeling, thinking, moving towards, prowling towards in my own life and in my work, in what I was bringing into the world. So that was one of those moments where following the track, following the calling, following what's feeling good to you, what's reaching out to you, what's beckoning you forward, landed in a moment of, aha, yes. So we don't always get those moments though. But here's the thing about tracking. It is about taking the first track. So when you feel stuck, taking a step, starting to form a track. And when you start to just move towards something that feels good in your body, something that's calling you forward. It might be even maybe it's a painting and you look up the painter and you start to get interested in that. That leads to a book and that leads to something else. Or maybe it's a cup of tea that you really enjoy and you sit and you savor that tea, and in those moments, other ideas come. So this is the ancient art of tracking. In simple terms, it's following what feels good. And if something doesn't feel good, don't do that. Sounds very simple, but in our day-to-day lives, we have made things, and things have been made for us far more complicated than they actually need to be. So if you are someone who feels stuck and yet knows that there's something bigger out there for you, you feel a purpose, you feel a yearning somewhere in your heart or in your womb, that there's something outside of what you're doing right now. Sometimes we get stuck on the big ideas of, oh, this must be it. This course or this project or this new identity. And sometimes that could be it. That could be your goal. That's what your destination is. But more often than not, when we are truly following our heart and tracking our inner, what lights us up, and our outer, what's unfolding, lives, we start to track one step at a time. The ancient art of tracking, from the best trackers in the world in Africa, they can only follow one track at a time because they don't know if that animal is now going to veer off in a different direction, or they have to be aware because maybe they've stopped and the animal is right there. Maybe the animal is leading into a river or a lake, so they have to be very aware of the surroundings and yet follow the details and the intricacies of one track. Now, how does that sound to you? Doesn't that feel so much more simple? Tracking is an art of embodiment, I believe. And we do have to use our mind We do have to use our thoughts as well. But the tracker uses her thoughts. She is not guided by an idea of how things should be, or how she wants to be, or where she wants to go, but she is guided by where she is now. And I have, for as much as I can in a practical way, given, trains, planes, and automobiles, I have tried to track my way through France like that, detouring, moving in different directions, changing plans, because it's only me. And it's easier to do when it's only you. So I'm curious to see how this lands for you, and also how tracking relates to back to my own life when I come home, because I want to savor this experience of tracking in the unknown to be able to track within the known, within my own environment and my own house and my own life. So tracking your wild self is the last piece of this. Tracking your wild self is far easier when you're in the unknown, when you're in the jungle, or you're in a new country, because nothing that you're seeing or you're moving through has been seen before. Or there may be, reminders or similarities to your own life. But when you're tracking your wild self, here's the thing. You are noticing, is this an old program of I should, or a guilt or obligation? Or is this a true track? So as I am moving through my travels, I'm noticing, is this a food that I really desire, that my body is really desiring right now? Or is this something that I just believe that I should eat? There's nothing wrong with that either. Sometimes you just got to get some protein, right? But it does give you an opportunity to really see what resonates with you. So for the first couple of days, I really loved and gravitated towards a nice cafe au lait and a chocolate croissant for breakfast. In my old programming, I would have had a lot of feelings and judgments about that. I had to sift through that and go, no, this is actually what I am desiring right now. The world didn't fall apart. I didn't gain, 50 pounds. I was simply having a croissant and coffee. And who doesn't do that in France? That's a simple example. But when we start to bring this into our daily life, magic starts to happen. You have to be able to trust that your wild self, who is calling you right now, she's beckoning, whispering to you at the moment, will lead you to your heart's desire. And I have never experienced it like this before. I've heard of manifestation and following your heart and finding your purpose and all of these things. But when I discovered, with many examples from the best trackers in the world, when I really distilled it down to this track, and then this one, and then this one, I have gone along the path of synchronicities, what you might call miracles, and coincidences that my mind could have never imagined. Tracking leads you beyond yourself, beyond who you thought you were, beyond who you were told that you are. And it leads you out into the unknown, out of unconscious, subconscious patterns that keep you stuck and keep you in the same old when your heart is saying there's something more for you. So I am really excited about teaching this skill. And I have a course coming up that again is simple, everyday keys and prompts and practices to move you one step along in your tracking journey. And it's called exactly that, Track Your Wild Self. It opens on November 4th, and in the beginning of every week, you will get a lesson, an orientation to set the direction in the wilderness of your own life, set the compass. And then Monday to Friday, you will get an email from me giving you things to practice just that day. And then the weekends off to integrate or go deeper. I believe that this will take you to a new level of consciousness in your own life and give you practices that you can keep on going deeper and deeper and deeper with as you move along in your journey past the 1-month course. So I will leave the link below. I hope you will join me. And the other thing is that the last thing I want to say is it's just fun. It's a fun way to live. And it's not drenched with the heaviness of guilt or shame or I'm not doing what I should be doing. And there's a part of you that starts to come alive. A part of you that you may or may not have met yet. And that's what I want for you. So hope you'll join me. I'll leave the link below. Hope you all have a wonderful day wherever you are. And I'm going to track my next step here, which looks like out into the sun that's peeking around the clouds. All right. Take care, everyone. And I will see you in the next episode of Woman Fully Alive. Bye for now.